Welcome to another 10 with Ken. I'm Ken Steele. My business card says Eduvation, so of course I talk a lot about innovation in higher ed. But in the academy, innovation can be a dirty word.
There's a built-in sort of resistance and suspicion around the idea of a drive to innovation on university campuses. A lot of academics think of that as a buzzword. Maybe it's an attempt to drive us in the direction of commercializing academic work.
This week, I traveled to Brandon University, where interim President Steve Robinson and I dispel some of those myths about innovation and discuss some ways in which college and university leaders can nurture a forward-looking culture on campus. 3 ways we can provide incentives for innovation. Brandon University is a small, primarily undergraduate, mainly liberal arts and sciences university, located in Brandon, Manitoba, a town of 50,000 people about 200 kilometers west of Winnipeg. But I doubt I would have been asked there if the Board of Governors and leadership hadn't already been thinking about innovation. Plenty of academics regard efforts to innovate on campus as the encroachment of neoliberalism, as excessive managerialism pushing for efficiencies or economic outputs.
Now, everybody, I think, is aware that innovation doesn't have to mean those things. But what we're really talking about is just thinking creatively and finding solutions to new problems. And that's what academics have always done. Every academic in their research is an innovator, every single one of them. You don't get a PhD without being an innovator. We're really just saying that when it comes to the way we operate ourselves, we could use a bit of that creativity.
In many ways, though, the current urgency towards a whole spectrum of innovation in higher ed is about retaining self-governance.
We all have innovated in our process one way or another as we have to, but we can be more intentional about it. We can lead the way instead of being driven by other forces to change when there's no other choice, for example.
Right. No, I think it's very important that the innovative ideas start coming from within instead of being imposed by government or imposed by corporations that are in the education business.
So it's critical for campus leaders to reassure staff and faculty, to dispel anxiety about innovation, and to encourage innovators to step forward. Steve suggests 3 ways to incentivize innovation on campus. Starting with the obvious: money.
Budgeting is an opportunity for people to put forward proposals for new things that they think might be significant additions to what we're doing. New innovative things often cost money. They don't have to. And certainly there's a lot of innovation that can go on behind the scenes and with little expense, but with a lot of intentional planning. But certainly some innovations do cost money too. And so by sending a signal from the President's office that we're willing to consider innovative proposals for new strategies, new programming, new additions to our infrastructure or changes to the way we do things, our processes. And then when new proposals come in, actually receiving some of them, being willing to try something, even though you're not sure that it's going to work and you're not sure that it's going to pay off.
Of course, for most higher ed leaders, the challenge is figuring out where to find more money for innovation.
An incentive fund for innovation would be a great idea. And it's something that we've talked about for a number of years here at Brandon. Money's been tight, and so we haven't actually sequestered funds or something like that.
Out of other budgets.
That's right.
To create it. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Right?
So what we've done more is just send out the signal, and then as ideas come forward, we consider them as part of the regular budgeting process.
Okay.
And we are becoming more self-conscious about how we do that, so that people understand that that's what we're trying to do. Maybe down the road, an innovation fund will be possible. Certainly something we'd like to see, and it would be a good idea.
But it might have to come out of donor dollars or
that would
community foundation dollars.
That would be
something else.
Certainly be a possibility. Yeah, something worth considering.
Even more important than money, though, is making it clear the institution is open to new ideas, to experiments that might be risky.
University administrations need to be willing to go out on a limb a little bit and try out experimentally different pedagogical strategies, different kinds of program combinations with other institutes, and find out what works, what doesn't. Universities don't have a good history, as you say, of experimenting in the way they operate.
We're risk averse.
We are very risk averse, and there's good reasons for that. We're dealing with public money, for one thing, for the most part, and so you don't want to waste money, right? And so you have to be very careful in how you select your experiments. Sending a signal from above that we're willing to consider experimental programs, experimental approaches, and then backing that up with some funding to see them happen is something that we need to do, and this is something I would encourage more of.
A critical driver for academic motivation is, of course, criteria for tenure and promotion.
Advancement in the academy often does not follow from shaking things up that much.
That's right, and that's a good point you make. Advancement in the academy is fairly rigidly defined, and it's a universal problem. How you actually can recognize people in meaningful professional ways for the innovative things that they're doing, and so that they get some credit, as it were, for that new thing that they've done. Credit towards promotion, credit towards tenure, credit of other kinds that the university has at its disposal. We need to be open more than we are to recognizing that when people do new things, there's something for others to learn from that. And we have to be able to pull that out and allow people to see that as an example that they can learn from, even when it's uncomfortable, because of course most innovation means discomfort for somebody, right? And so we have to recognize that the discomfort is worth feeling. Yeah, excellent.
So according to Steve Robinson, 3 ways that campus leaders can encourage innovation are by making innovation funds available, making it clear that experiments are welcome, and finding ways to recognize and reward innovation in tenure and promotion. Next week, I travel to the University of Regina to speak with President and Vice-Chancellor Vian Timmins. I hope you'll join us. To be sure you don't miss it, take a moment now to subscribe. Thanks for watching. My business card says Eduvation can nurture a forward-looking culture on campus. So close. Not a one-take wonder, maybe a 100-take wonder. Self-determination, self-governance, self-agency. How do I write this stuff?